Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge.
Some of this stuff we can cut out, but there's something that's sick about wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What is it? Why are we messed up? I mean, I know, because here's the thing, and I'm going to get into this in a minute, but I look at what you're doing, and I know where that's something I aspire to do, but your focus and your drive is world class. Is that something that you think, because your urgency is something that I think is to be really looked at? Like, do you think that a lot of that maybe comes from your competitiveness as an athlete when you were kind of growing up? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, thanks, Marty. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, like the urgency. I don't know why. I wake up every morning, man. It's like my back's against the wall and I start at zero, you know? So, and maybe that's the metaphor for it's wrestling as a kid and fighting or boxing or whatever it is. I mean, it's just you and that's all you got. No one else is in there with you. And what's funny is I wasn't a state champ or anything, but yeah, I could compete a little bit. And what I remember when just starting it out as a kid doing it and for the boys club, and then in high school, you got that singlet on, you look like an idiot, right? Everything's hanging out, the whole school can see it. And it's just you in this mat that stinks on this big auditorium with everybody, all eyes on you, man. Yeah. But the great thing about it was, like you said, is there's something about that, what you have to pull out of yourself, what you have to dig down and grab, right? To get in there. And the 3 2-minute rounds, no one thinks that's a big deal. But I mean, when you are gassed, there's nothing there but you and some pure will. And I love that. I mean, that's why I love competition and I love wrestling. I think it's a great sport for every kid to get involved with, where any wrestler can hold their own if they need to in any given moment, right?
Absolutely.
And I just think that the lessons learned from that, where everything from just cutting the weight, constantly training, endurance, strength, flexibility, and then technique. It was a fun experience. And I think it really showed me, in life, like it really comes down to if you're not training hard, someone else is. And like the game or the battle of the match is won or lost well before you ever got in there. So if I don't prepare, just like in business and in life, you never, the clock never stops. Right. So if I'm not preparing everything I can do to be a better business person, just like in athletics, then I don't have an edge. The whole thing in my book, right? Then you don't have the confidence. So I think that I was already a driven person, but to put me in that scenario, like with athletics, like that really, really, like it's a perfect arena to face what's right in front of you in that moment. So I think that's why we're a little bit crazy, right?
I'm juiced up, Jeremiah. I am absolutely juiced up, guys. I'm shaking because so guys, for those who don't know, we were just talking about wrestling, and I think we're going to get back to wrestling in a second too, because that's something that just absolutely gets me going. But Jeremiah, and one of the things he owns and operates, guys, over $150 million and more of commercial real estate, high performing commercial real estate. He's built and he manages his own private equity and real estate management company. Guys, you got to see this video. He's a part of the All Handsome team. All right. He's absolutely part of the All Handsome team. And most importantly, why I had him on is because I was inspired and absolutely drawn to this book. And I'm really, really glad I read it. Most importantly, the book is Finding Your Edge. I want to get into that book in just a second, Jeremiah, but really before we go into that, the book is raw, man. It's really raw, and it's really cool because it's an autobiography, it's a playbook, it's a real estate playbook, and it's also like a written visualization of your future, which you don't see. Like it was just something so different because it was raw, because you were so open. There were so many guys, there was just as many failures in the book as there were, successes. And that's the thing that's different with a lot of books is you don't get the failures, man. You don't get those failures. And that is why it was like, I knew you. I felt even more drawn to you. I felt even more like this is a guy that really gets it. This is a guy that understands the business. But that was probably tough for you to open up like that, man. What was going through your head? Did you know that was something that you were going to do from the beginning?
Thanks, Marty. Yeah, you felt it, you dug it. And it was a lot more raw. The editor pulled it back.
I need that. I want the original. I want to see the
Oh
original.
man, I know. I'm not a writer, so it took me 2.5 years to put the story out there. And when I put it out there, there was some low moments, losing the houses in Vegas and getting kind of dumped by, girls when you run out of money. And there was some deep stories that I wanted to share. And they said, hold on, we got to keep it 300 pages. But it was a great experience to go through, to dig deep and find out, okay, what are all the things that led me to this moment in my life? And what it was like, the rawness that I uncovered under it was like, just like in what we talked about with wrestling or with any challenge in your life, you can't run away. There's no, you can't run away from any discomfort or suffering or pain in your life. You got to face shit head on, right? You got to handle your business. And even if you don't have it figured out and it's not right, you made a mistake or things are falling apart in your life, no one's going to take care of you but you. So you got to just face it and deal with it. And that was the big thing I learned over time, is where you'd find little ways to get out of it or get by or not do your best or whatever it was in certain parts of my life. And that was like, okay, enough is enough. Like, I got myself in these shitty situations. Now it's time. I'm the one that put myself here. This is what I really want. So now it's time to face it and deal with it. And then I grew. Then I started to evolve as a man. And that took some time for me to process that.
But the thing is, not many people can do that. Not many people have that mindset. Not many people are willing to say, hey, that's my fault constantly, right? Constantly put it on me. Where does that come from, you think? Is it from, because you guys in the story, and I don't want to give up too much of it because you got to get the book. You got to get the book. I'm saying this. I mean, I didn't think, this was going to be something that I like literally was just absolutely crushing this book as soon as I opened it, but you got to get it. And do you think it has to do a little bit with just growing up in like an entrepreneurship kind of family where there wasn't that, always weekly check or monthly check coming in for your family, right? Like, does it come from that, or where is that?
Yeah, I think it was both. From both my parents. My mom is a real liberal in the sense of live free or die in New Hampshire, where I'm from, is kind of the motto. And she's like, hey, go make your decisions. You make them and deal with them with your life. And that's what it is. And I appreciate she let me have that, to let myself fail. And then like my grandfather having a flower shop and my dad a paving business is what you mentioned. There's no safety net. It was like every day you're hitting the ground running miles an hour to make sure that you can make your business successful. And they don't have a lot of business acumen, so they weren't leveraging a lot of the things that we can today with technology and people and just the knowledge that we have. I could see them struggle and there was no days off. And that burning obsession got passed through to me. And I guess there's always that deep down fear of just losing what you got. And it's a healthy fear, just where you're not comfortable. You always want to make sure you're trying to see what am I missing right now? And how can I make sure being the best person I can be right now?
Yeah, that's where the urgency comes from then. Because we were talking about this, guys, a little bit earlier, was like, why are some people just waking up with urgency and some people don't? And, I was reading another book, Sam Zell. He's like, I just had urgency in my day. The people that wake up and they're just whimsical about their calendar, hoping that a deal is going to come across their desk, it doesn't happen. And in the book, and guys, if you've listened to me before, you know how amped up I am about how important it is cold calling. And it's not just cold calling, it's what you're going to learn on the job from the people that you talk to. Let's go into that a little bit, because I'm fired up out of my gourd right now about just when I read that because like me and like a lot of people who maybe not have I can analyze a deal and I know how to really run the numbers, and I know you know that now, but in the beginning you knew, hey, I got a phone, I got a list, and I'm gonna get after it. Like, take me through that. Take me back to that time. Like, I'm so amped up about that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, the singular mind of focus, right? One dedicated goal that I was after when in the beginning it was mobile home parks. Like, I knew based on what I said in the book there that I didn't need the credit. I figured I didn't need the money. I could have someone help me. I could either assign the deal or I could have somebody carry a note for me. And I knew the basics of what I was looking for. So I had clarity on exactly what I wanted. And then at that stage, so when I was going through all those dialing, all those owners and managers and all around the country, in the beginning, it was like the first 10 calls, there was still that anxiety or that fear of like, I don't know what to say, and I'm not in the moment, I'm not in the mood. And it really was like the whole Tony Robbins thing, man, take control of your state, right? And take a few no's. You sound clunky on the phone. You're a little, just like your podcast or anything, right? You just getting in the mode of communicating. So for me, it was like, get a few reps under my belt. Don't ever take anything personal. And then at the end of the day, pull it back and say, okay, what am I really trying to communicate? All I want to do is buy your property. I don't want to sleep with your daughter. I don't want to take your house. I'm not trying to steal anything from you. So it was just be very basic. Like, all I want to do is have an opportunity to buy your property. Would you like to sell it? I'm hungry. I'm excited. I'm interested in this industry. Anything I can learn, I want to learn. And anything I can add value to this person, I will say it, and it takes a minute to finesse it, right? To build a little bit of rapport. But that was the attitude that I brought every single day, and calling every 3, 6, 12 months. They were starting to say, even if they told me to F off, I just kept coming. And they said, yeah, we'd love to give you a shot. And now a lot more people have been doing this. But at the end of the day, I still think no matter how many people call, it doesn't matter. I think if you can break through and you're passionate about what you're doing, you know what you want, you're not wasting time calling assets that you have no bother actually wanting to ever buy, then you're going to break through and connect with these people. And you might not get the deal, but like you said, you learn a lot on the other end. Like how are they operating it? What are the rents in that market? Are they full right now? Is it a good region right now? Have they been full every year since you've been calling them? So that kind of I could start putting the pieces together and building relationships that actually compounded over time, where I found contractors through that. I found different management people I could hire. And everything stemmed from picking up the phone.
I love that. I agree with you. I fully agree with you that that's how we built our business. Is just, what it is too, is that it's refreshing for them on the other side. Because it's so simple, and again, I'm not knocking it, but the mailers and those things, those are effective, right? But I think, and I'm sure, and tell me if I'm wrong here, you've probably taken advantage of some of those mailers, and they go, are you the guy that keeps sending me that? And whatever you said, right? But no one actually does that part, and the amount of rapport you can build with that phone call. I mean, Jeremiah, is it fair to say, and I don't know if this is true, but is it fair to say that you've probably bought properties because of that reason more than the price of maybe someone came in with a higher price, or somebody that they didn't know, whatever? Like, can you elaborate a little bit about on that part? Because that's how important I think having that face to face, if you can, but if not, just that over the phone conversation and building that rapport. Like, just how important was it for you to build your business with that?
100%. Yeah. And it definitely deals have been done because of the relationship, the strength of the relationship, right? The integrity that I perceive someone having and I'm having. So I put that right in the book. At the end of the day, it's a relationship game. So you cannot forget that. So, even to this day, I'm on the selling side, and if I'm exiting, or even if I'm on the buying side as well, I want to deal with someone that I enjoy working with, and that it's a mutual beneficial relationship. And I can't stand grinding, where you're grinding on someone to get the best possible deal in every given moment. At this phase of my life, it's more valuable for me to have a seamless transaction to a degree, or at least, enjoy who I'm working with, where I don't need to squeeze every single dollar out of the deal. And I want to build that relationship so I can, it actually frees up a lot of other things in my life. So I can, and you never know how that relationship keeps going forward. So I think to your point on that is on the relationship in the beginning, it was really, I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the credit. I didn't even look like I was that old enough to be even a business person. I look like a little kid. But I think at the end of the day, some of these people saw how willing I was to do whatever it took to make the deal work for them. And, like Scott Shield, my longtime mentor, and the guy one of the quotes I love is what he says, I'll pay your price if you pay my terms, or if you work with my terms. So for me, it was at the time, because these assets were misoperated or poorly operated, I knew there was some things we could do to improve the asset, raising rents and fixing up the parks in a way where they're nice communities. So I said, all right, I can overpay and ask and pay their price as long as they're willing to do, they can carry a note or carry a second behind the bank, or they can do a master lease, or we can work on, they can credit back some money at closing, something there, right? Some terms there that actually would allow me to get in light into the deal, and I can make the improvements, and I was willing to pay more. But they understood that through the relationship of us talking through it, being direct, and just being open about it, being fair. And at the end of the day, they really respected that. And that's how I grew my career for the first decade.
Guys, that's insane. If you guys got to go back and re-listen to that. It's packed. It's packed because what I'm taking from that is just the passion. You can't fake the passion. And when you're talking to somebody and you have passion, that wins. That wins with people because they can go, man, you may, this is just an example, but that same person probably had that same piss and vinegar in them, right, in the beginning, and you're coming with that same thing. They get enthused working with you, right? You're not just somebody throwing a number and you're just somebody that's a robot. Like, people want to be inspired. They want to be amped up.
Yeah.
And when you're coming with amped upness, you're like I said earlier, you're not going to lose. And you're also humble, right? You're humble with the fact that, hey, I don't know a lot. Right? Hey, I don't really know a lot, but I know I'm really excited about this industry. I know that I can help you. I know that if you give me a shot, I'm not going to make you look dumb. I'm going to prove it to you, right? All those things that you need to have. And you know what it is? What I really believe it is, Jeremiah, is it's conviction.
Right.
Right? And you can't really fake that.
Right.
Right? Like, and again, I'm amped up. I'm amped up out of my mind right now about it, but just us talking. But it's the kind of guys, I've talked about this before, but I can already envision Jeremiah in his office back in the day in Las Vegas, pounding the phone with some old computer, and he's got his fist, and it's clenched, and he is pounding it going, give me a shot. Give me a shot. Let me prove it to you, right? I can see that. But going back to your point on working with people in regards to rapport, people, I think at some point, and you get to a part of your life where life's too short to work with assholes, even if they're going to give you maybe that price. But if you don't want to deal with them, you don't want to work with them, it's not fun, right?
No, it's not.
Right? You want to work with someone that's fun. Guys, the breakdown into the book is really kind of neat because it's into quarters. So he breaks down his life and his career in, like the kickoff, the figuring it out. I love the showtime. I love the showtime because I'm not there. I know you are, and you're getting into your even the fourth, which is the focusing on the next step in your legacy even. So kind of go through that a little bit, if you don't mind, just kind of what that was like to kind of go from figuring it out to showtime. Because I think a lot of people, that's where they might get kind of hung up on, because I know you had to take a step back, even though it's an incredible just getting to what you were doing, figuring it out. Because the guys, you got to read the book. Anyways, why don't you go into it? I want to hear your part of from figuring it out to showtime.
Yeah, Marty. Yeah, I wanted to take that chapter. And when I was looking at the big picture of it all, right, you're kind of designing your life, and you look at like an athlete, and even in like when I was taking yoga like crazy in Indian philosophy, there's different phases of your life where this archetype, as a man, that's how I can relate, is in different aspects of your life. You have a different archetype. So in the beginning of life, in that first phase, nothing. You are just evolving. You are just picking up the basics of just understanding and building the references in your life. And then you're deciding what you really want to do. And that's the first quarter where you're so naive and young, and you have tons of energy, but you don't have really an idea what you're doing. And that's where you actually start to build that energy, and you have the youth and the vitality. And then the next phase, that second quarter of life, is you know what you want, but now you're in the warrior phase. Like you have to, like you are now like ready to go to battle, and you're out there just struggling every day. And like, that's where the juice is, right? Where you're in it enough where that's that 7 to 10 years, that 10,000 hour rule, where you're mastering your craft, where in any sport or any wrestler, where you on the surface, you look decent, but that's where you're really putting in the time to really understand the craft and be a master. And that's where I was throughout my 30s. I hit 40 last year. And this is that my 30s where I could do some deals. I knew how to source them. I was building a team around me, but I really didn't know how to put it all together. I was just learning each aspect of the business, parts of capital improvements and construction and management and just in sales and influence and raising money. These were all pieces of it. But I that was that phase where I was learning all those different things. And when I talked about halftime, it's really taking and evaluating, okay, that first half of my career, I put together this book of work and I feel like I've had some success and it's been a great ride with the real estate industry. And I'm passionate about what I found in the beginning of my career and I built up some good habits. And then the third quarter I talked about after halftime and really deciding, okay, what's next? After I had that exit event and I pulled out 10 million in cash and I kind of cleaned house on my organization and I only had an assistant and a bookkeeper. At that phase, I was like, I could hang it up or I could just step back and go do something else. And I decided, you know what? I tried it realistically for maybe 2 weeks and I'm like, I can't go to trade shows and speak. I can't do poetry. I can't write more books. I mean, this is so painful. I literally don't like writing the book. So at that stage, I'm like, man, okay, I'm all in. So what that third quarter, like I was saying, it was showtime, is that you take everything you put together, you've mastered your craft, you put the 10,000 hours in, you have passion and you decide, I don't have to do this. I want to do this. That was it for me, man. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's build it back up. So brought on some other partners. I went all back in, pushed all my chips back in, back into the business, reinvest in everything, and then doubled down on storage and development and now industrial parks. So that to me, and this is the phase where it's fun. I like having this intensity in the business. I mean, sometimes it's a little draining and challenging, but I decided I wanted to do this and I like the people that I work with. That was really important for me. And I like the partners that I've had now that have survived over the years that I want to continue working with. And I like the people that put capital into the deals. So that's what Showtime is. And then fourth quarter, this is just looking at your career in different segments and that archetype more is like, that's where you have wisdom. It's time to give back. You teach a little bit, you share, you don't need to prove yourself. You did it. You don't have to look like anything to anyone, and then you give back and leave a legacy. For me, I'm originally from New England and I really like land conservation and being outdoors. And I want to create parks, either sports parks or hiking parks or outdoor activity parks. So we're just finding different properties that we can take some of the land, put it in conservation. And that's a long-term play for me, but at least I have kind of a spectrum of how I want to segment my life and where I want to be in that part of my life. So I know I'm on track.
Guys, this is really freaking good. I mean, and Jeremiah, thank you again, because this is just getting me so excited. It's something that it gets me amped up because when you read this book, you can feel his energy, guys. And I mean, he's matching me and going ahead, and that doesn't happen often on this show. Where this guy gets more amped up than me, and it's getting me really amped up, but as you guys can tell. But you can kind of hear this in the book. You can kind of feel this guy in the book. I didn't know how much it was going to be something that pulled me in, but it did. And it got to a point where you just want this guy to win. Jeremiah, I really wanted you to win in this book. And what's great is I know you're a winner, right? And that's the other thing is, and actually, I was going to get to where your mindset of you could be a freaking easy. You could just take the day off and just be a sales mindset coach, and just people should be throwing you cash to bring you in to talk to their group, and that should be it for the company alone. But let's get back to real quick the principles in this book, guys. There's 6 edge principles. I'm not going to get into all of them because I want you guys to get the book. It was kind of at the end there, and they all really tie in really nicely. Here's one that I've been having trouble with. I think a lot of people have trouble with, which is number 4, and it's never get too high and never get too low. When I read that, I'm like, how, man? How? Because I'm such a guy that gets super high on things, and then when I get punched in the face, and it's repeated, guys. It's repeated. And I'm pretty sure Jeremiah is riddled with scar tissue from all the problems and pains that he's had, right, in the inside. But what's some things that we can kind of take away and say, hey, what are you doing? Is it maybe exercising? Is it diet? And I want to get into that too, actually, in a second. But what are those things that maybe can help people not get too high and not get too low?
Yeah, I think the underlying theme that helped me, the mantra, that revolves around that theme is really kind of based on the Stoic beliefs of I'm going to do what I'm going to do every day. So I can only control what I can control, and I'm committed to this. I dedicated my life to commercial real estate investing. I mean, not to be dramatic, but this is what I decided is what I want to do, and I love it because I'm an entrepreneur. I can build a business around this, and I can build and express myself in the world through this business. So for me, it was like I'm going to get up and do this no matter what. So I don't care, if the deal works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, of course, I have emotions and I get worked up like you, Marty. I'm an expressive guy. But at the end of the day, I'm not. It was a nice feeling because when I figured out early on in life, when I made a little bit of money in the very beginning and it was nothing in the scale of what I have now, but I went out and blew all the money and had the material things and had fun in Vegas like an animal. And then I was like, at the end of it, I was just left super empty. And then, just like any story of Siddhartha or anything, you max out what you think you want in the material world, or even, when you're judging yourself against what society or other people think is success. And then at the end of the day, you're like, man, I'm still here alone and I don't feel fulfilled. So the only thing that made me feel fulfilled was getting up every day and building on something that meant something to me. Like I'm doing something, I'm creating. So at that phase, I was like, if this guy doesn't want to invest the money, or if this employee leaves, or if the deal falls apart, or if we have a big improvement project, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm getting up tomorrow and I'm doing it, man. So that was, to me, it was a beautiful thing because at that moment, I wasn't hanging on to the outcome. That was true power, right? Anyone where you can let go of the outcome and the ability to walk away, that to me was like true power, where I said, okay, like I don't need this to make my life or my business or anything. I'm going to get up and do it anyway. So that totally changed my perspective.
That's awesome, guys. Go back and listen to that because I actually needed that badly today. That you can only control what you can control, for crying out loud. I mean, that's the truth, and not hanging on the outcome, not being hung up on the outcome. And to be candid, it is easier said than done. But if you can literally just cement that in your brain, where I'm not going to be defined by that, right? I'm not going to be defined about my success or my failure, but by the person I am and the character that I built up, right? It's really, really tough, but I think your life will be simpler, not easier, but it will be simpler if you kind of just have that as your mantra. Man, I love that.
And Marty, yeah, like I know, instead of it being philosophical, let's tie it to like the real deal where your habits and routines is really what it comes down to. So, I mean, when you're digging into it, the abundance mindset, and I'm not talking about some cheesy, the movie The Secret abundance, like where you just wish for something and it happens. I'm talking about like this abundance mindset of saying, I'm going to do the actions that it takes every day to create every opportunity for me to win and have success. And how do you do that? You just keep swinging the bat, right? So for me, that exercise of getting on the phones, and I'm not saying people have to cold call owners. You can cold call brokers. You can, whatever you do, that's your angle, your edge in the marketplace. If you're researching land, if you're finding, if you're a leasing broker, whatever it is, you're hitting the phones. And I'm saying, I'm going to create every opportunity I can to build more business. And in the beginning, I was really disciplined, three or 4, even 6 hours a day. And I didn't have a lot of stuff going on. So I was saying, I'm going to dedicate this time to creating new opportunities. So I don't care if something falls apart. I'm hitting the second I close the deal, or the second the deal falls apart, I'm still getting up or whatever. I'm following my schedule and making the calls. That to me, it changed my whole perspective because I didn't have time to dwell on that, on the loss or the win. I have to be in it today. And that goes for your body too. I know, Marty, you're passionate about your health, so I'm just saying, like, for me, it's not about intensity, and it's about like this motivational moment where it all works out. It's getting up and doing a 1 or 2 mile walk every single day. It's getting up and doing the basics, drinking water with lemon. It's about eating decent meals. It's like, for me, it's just habits of doing these consistent activities, getting to bed at a decent hour, right? Doing my 45 minutes to an hour of some type of exercise. It's consistency. So to me, that's how I take control. Those are the things I can control, like making the calls to the people that I care about, trying to cultivate those friendships, trying to cultivate relationships. So those are the things that allow me to have this abundant mindset where I'm not dependent on all these other things outside of me. I'm going to focus on every day what I can do, and then everything's going to work out.
Guys, could you not just just actually really jump or run through a wall for this guy if this guy was your, manager or your leader? It's a no-brainer. I know he's got some opportunities as well with funds and that's a guy you want to work with. That's a guy that you go, yeah, here's my money, and I know you're going to make it work because this is the kind of guy you are. This is what we're talking about, guys, when I'm talking about in Jeremiah, tell me if I'm wrong here, but the habits and the routines that we do, it's the promises that we keep to ourselves that gives us the confidence to continue to move forward. Because those promises and that confidence, and now in Jeremiah's case, it allows you, because the more confidence that we have, to take bigger risks and to go bigger and think bigger. But it starts with those keeping those promises and those habits are a promise to yourself that you're going to, no matter what it is, when I wake up, I got to do my 15 minutes of meditation. Right. I love that. Keep swinging the bat. And let me ask you this, because I've also had this question when I was reading the book. One of our problems, and maybe this is a problem for other people or it's just me, but the management style that we have is very much, when we worked at our other company, we were very much hands off. We were sales guys. We were hands off. And we liked that because we're self-starters. Obviously, Jeremiah, you're a self-starter. And what would you tell people because this is a lot of entrepreneurs, they're self-starters. They are able to, you don't have to tell me much. Just give me a freaking formula. Give me the formula and I'll follow the formula and I'll make it happen for me. But employees and people that come in that just don't have that, right? They don't have that, and that's okay. Not everybody does. But it's really hard for me to go and spend the time because I'm just such a self-starter. And it's like, you always think that people already have this. Like, it's like, oh, what do you mean you don't just want to get after it, right? Like, what do you mean you don't want to just take that next step? How did you, if that happened to you, let me know. But if it didn't, what did you do to kind of shift your mindset to go, hey, I need to do a better job in getting these people boozed or in making sure that I'm leading them the best way I can?
Yeah, Marty, man, that's a good question. So, and just to address your comment there too, is that I'm super hard on myself. I'm sure you are. Any high performer or entrepreneur, we're so hard on ourselves because we're just critical that we want so much. We have these high standards for who we are. So just that we do in terms of these habits and routines is like, don't beat yourself up. If you don't do it, you don't do it, but then start over. That's it. There's no time to I don't need to beat myself up any more than I already do. So it's like
that. I needed that.
Yeah, just do it anyway, right? Just start over, and you don't have to stick with something if it doesn't work anymore. It's okay. So that whole thing is cool. I want to let everyone out there know, because I mean the whole motivational culture, sometimes it makes you feel worse than actually it's supposed to.
Isn't that insane, guys? Yeah, that's Jeremiah. That is, man. And you know what? That's funny you say that because it is true. It's like, God, it's like if you don't do those things in your morning routine, then your day's ruined. It's like, well, what the F's the point of this?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. Yeah, just the small actions consistent every day. So, but anyway, so to your point, man, that evolution of the different quarters of your career, right, in the different phases that I went through in the book. So that phase 2 that I went in quarter 2, that was really the transition from quarter 1 being a self-starter. I'm naturally a salesperson or just someone that is very in the Kiyosaki quadrants. I'm the self-directed guy. I'm the independent business owner that likes to do everything and I want to get things done. I'm an action taker. And the entrepreneur quadrant, to take it over to there, that takes leverage, and that's getting other people to do the things that actually move the needle and make your business grow. Yeah. So I really follow Keith Cunningham a lot. He wrote the book, The Road Less Stupid, and a bunch of book on entrepreneurism. And I go down to Austin a couple times a year and I listen to him speak. And why I really like him is because it really changed my mindset from finally I mastered my craft. I understood what I was doing. I started to see the scale of how big this commercial real estate game is in general and investing. And then at that stage, I said, okay, in order to do this, I have to build an organization. And that's totally different skills than building up the beginning of your business and creating deals and building revenue. That's just a small part of it, right? On the back end of it, it's really the money's in the management, right? Peter Drucker says. So the real money in the long haul is in the management. And management, what the things that you measure, the things that you manage get measured. And those things that you measure really need to be the essential things. They need to be the critical drivers, right? He says these, like the primary movers of your business. So what I started to realize is there's so much out there. And that's actually what started the book. Is I was trying to write down all these different things in commercial real estate. I'm like, what are the things that are essential that I need to move the needle on so I can build an organization, so I can actually grow this thing? So I realized what he talks about is building a dashboard. And what this dashboard means, it gives you optics into these critical drivers of these things that you have to do every day. And this is what I keep working on. So like, think of a pilot or anyone that runs a machine. You have to have a dashboard that has these measurement tools, these optics that I can read, so I know, okay, how are we doing right now as I'm driving the ship? So for me, I mean, it's a simple tool. And for me, simplicity, right, is definitely the key. Complexity kills execution. That's why I think guys like you and me, we have a very simple blueprint. Do this, get that, I will succeed, right? Now, as you grow, it gets very challenging because there's a lot of moving parts in your company. So, but this dashboard, I mean, I've really been focusing on Monday.com, and it's just a platform. You can pick anything you want, right? Asana or all those other ones, but having a tool that you can have a dashboard that you build out, and you have these different departments in your company, and then you have an organization where you have different team members and leaders around this, but you define what are these critical drivers, what are these actions or objectives that these people need to work on. My callers, the guys that are in the acquisition department, they need to log in and they need to make a certain amount of calls every day. They need to talk to a certain amount of brokers every day. We need to analyze a certain amount of deals. We need to make a certain amount of offers, and we have to get a certain amount of contracts signed. That's how we build revenue. And on the construction side, we have to have timelines, we have to have bids, we have to have project budgets, and we have to make sure that we come in on time under budget. So I don't have it all figured out, but I'm just saying like that in that course, and essentially the game of business is in the numbers, and that's really the game of accounting. So if I can tell anyone that's starting in the business right now, other than building your business by creating deal flow and then looking to find a management partner or someone that can help you actually, and if you can hire out and have third-party management, great. If not, bring in somebody that really likes management, the operations. And what I mean by that is they're very consistent, where they love to continually cultivate activities and actions on the same routine activities. Like I hate that part of the business, constantly tweaking and working the operations. So find someone that loves that and that can do that. But most importantly, though, is get your accounting dialed in. We're getting raw into the business. So, and really the scorecard that we're looking at is our balance sheet and our P&L or income statement. So, I mean, if I can't stress to you enough, is these people that get into real estate, it's essentially a business, and we really need to know the fundamentals of business. So if you're not reading your financials quarterly or monthly on how your properties are doing, or even if you have a management company and you're trying to build up an organization, you need to know, where am I at right now every month? What are my costs right now? What's my revenue? What is this deal going to do here, in terms of on the balance sheet? How much equity do I have to raise? When I'm going to have to give up for that. So I know I'm going down the rabbit hole, but I just wanted you to highlight the most essential things that people getting into the business really need to have their accounting dialed in. And that's a challenge. It takes time, because the fun part is growing the business. The challenging part is managing it and managing your accounting behind it.
Right. No, and this is, guys, I've been taking notes the entire time. So if you guys need to go back and re-listen to that, because that's really where that's the steak, guys. This is the freaking real meal right there. And you answered my question, which is you got to be better. What got you to where you are now is not going to get you to where you want to be. Like, yeah, Marty, you're, a high performer guy. That's cool. And that's great. And that's going to get you XYZ. But if you want to be a boss, if you want to be a guy that's going to really lead, then you need to do the work.
And Marty, to that point right there, is that actually what the transition for me was, that the main theme of what Keith taught me was, now my job is to make every single person that works for me successful. Yeah. It's not to be me successful. I don't need to go out and actually go go do more sales. I mean, that's great. I'm still expected to do that, to do more deals. My job is to empower every single person to be successful in the organization. So I have to create the system and give them the tools and figure out the training and actually direct them to the right activity so they're successful. If it's not the right person for the fit, eventually you got to part ways. But that's a hard mindset, because you have control over yourself. It's hard, right, but you don't have control over other people. So that's what a true entrepreneur is. You're empowering other people. You're giving people an opportunity, incentivizing, aligning the incentives to make sure that they want to work hard and they succeed in their goals, and it also achieves your goals as a company?
Guys, we got work to do. And that's the thing. And I think it's good to hear that, because what's really nice about the book is you're open on that stuff. And this is because he's not holding anything back. And I also want to be very cognizant of his time. So I just want to say, guys, if you're thinking, hey, I need something to read that's going to motivate me, but it's going to teach me, and it's going to something that's going to inspire me, then it's a no-brainer. Finding Your Edge. Absolutely must have.
Thanks,
I
Marty.
really believe it. I truly believe it. And so anyway, Jeremiah, thank you so much for taking the time. You know, it really is. I'm amped up. I can't wait to get on the phones and get better, man. I appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you doing this. And it's nice to meet you. I didn't get a chance to really connect with you. So it's great that you reached out. And I just want people, you really plugged the book, Marty. I appreciate that. You know, I'm just getting it out there, and I'm glad it really influenced you. And what I hope it does is people participate by really writing in it and really and digging in, pulling out what matters to them. It might not all resonate, or maybe it does, but the biggest thing I wanted someone to get out of, even if you don't read the whole thing, is just take a few minutes to do some of the things that I ask in the book and write down what your focus is in your strategy, and what is your competitive edge in the business, and what are you more predisposed to as a person? What are you good at, and play to those strengths. So I just hope people do that, because it was hard to write the book for a beginner and for someone that's been in the business as a veteran.
100%.
So different things resonate with different people. But at the end of the day, if you pick it up and it makes you read or write, for 30 minutes about your future and your career and where you're at in your life and where you want to go, to me, that's a win. Like, there, you did more than 90% of other books do in people's lives.
100%. And that's what that book did for me. And I hope anybody that picks it up, I'm sure that's what will be done, because that's what I did. I mean, I'm not a huge reader. I'm a podcast listener. I'm an audiobook guy. But when I got the book, it was easy to read, but it wasn't easy in the fact that there was just, nothing there. I mean, it was just, I flew through it and I was just juiced reading it. So, again, Jeremiah, I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, brother, man.
You. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
again,
to do it again.
Guys, absolutely. Thanks for listening, guys. That was Jeremiah. Peace.
For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening to Finding Your Edge.